Good snowy day to all of you in Ms. Hanson's room and Miss Phillips. This is Mr. Barton. I'm experimenting with a lesson today. We're going to use BrainPop Jr. and we're going to talk about setting. This is where a story takes place and when a story takes place. So I'm going to turn on BrainPop Jr. and let Annie and Moby give you a little lesson. I'll stop the video and then I'll give you a link to a couple of books I'll be reading. So here goes.
Take me to your leader. I come in peace. Oh no! The backdrop is all wrong for our play. The setting is supposed to be in outer space, not the high seas. What is the setting of a story? A setting is where the story takes place. You know, like where it happens. Yeah, I know we said our play would take place on a ship, but I meant a spaceship in the future, not some old boat from the past. I guess when I said the setting is where a story takes place, I was only half right. The setting is also when a story takes place. Like, a story about the Pilgrims arriving in America would take place a long time ago, during a totally different time period. It would be really weird if a story about the Pilgrims took place in the present. You know, like today. Whoa, that would really change everything. How does the setting affect the story? In Hansel and Gretel, the two characters walk through the deep, dark woods. But imagine if Hansel and Gretel walked through a bright, happy forest. That's a totally different setting, right? Anyway, the setting can really affect the mood of a story and make you feel different things. Let's see. After they walk through the woods, Hansel and Gretel find a house made of candy. Moby, you really should meet the house. It's rude. This is the witch's house. The story of Hansel and Gretel happens in several different places. How can the setting change in a story? I know that lots of stories have different settings, but some stories have only one place that changes over time. Well, this house is in the countryside now, but maybe later other houses will be built near it, and then soon this place will turn into a small town, and then it'll turn into a big city. See? A story might take place over a span of time, and the setting might change along with the story. But I've definitely read stories where the setting wasn't so obvious. How can you figure out the setting in a story? Sometimes in a story, the writer doesn't tell you the setting, so you have to use clues to figure it out. Like right now, we're probably in the past, because we're riding in a wagon instead of a car. Whoa. Right, and our clothes look kind of prairie-like. Hey, I bet we're in the Old West. Giddy up, little doggies. Yee-haw! Hey, I bet you can figure out the setting by the way the characters talk. Right, partner? Sometimes when I read a story, I take notes on the setting, too. I write down where the characters live, how they get around, how they dress, and how they talk. Or sometimes I draw pictures to help me figure out the setting. Great setting.
Okay, let's try taking the quiz on setting and see what we learned. What is a setting? Is it A, the time and place a story happens? Is it B, the people or animals in a story? Is it C, what happens in a story? Is it D, how a character feels? Well, I'm going to go with A, the time and place a story happens. Moby's happy, that's good. Number 2, what might a character feel in a dark forest? Would they feel scared or happy, awake, or bored? I'm thinking scared. And we saw that in the video with the scene where Moby and Annie are playing Hansel and Gretel in the forest and it's dark. So I'm going with scared, A. Three, how could an author show the setting of a story? By telling how old a character is? By telling how a character feels? By describing the problem a character faces? D, describing how characters dress, talk, and live. And I think D is the answer. And we saw that in the video where Annie and Moby are in the wagon and they're having horses and they're dressed kind of, what did she say, prairie-like. So we'll go with D. Number 4, which of these settings would fit best in a fantasy book? Now the key word here is fantasy. A school, a haunted castle, a beach house, or a ski lodge. Now I think this one's pretty obvious. A haunted castle fits in very nicely with a fantasy. And the last one, a story about knights and castles probably takes place in the future, the present, in the evening, in the past. And I think knights and castles would take place in the past a long time ago. So let's see if we can get Moby to dance. All right, Moby's happy, I'm happy. I'm going to end this video. You should find a link from your teacher to a story I'll be reading next.